boys and girls. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, again, place value, just like you were learning about yesterday. I did want to go over a couple examples together with me because sometimes in the other learning videos that they don't always get to the exact details that I'd like to teach you. So here we go. So first and foremost here, you can see I have a place value chart. I would highly recommend every time you are working in place value, drawing yourself a place value chart to get yourself really used to like where's the ones place, where's the tens place, hundreds place, 1,000s place, and 10,000s place here. So what we're going to talk about is a couple different things. So, again, this is a great way to start your learning. So, if you're having trouble with things, make yourself a place value chart. So I just want to go over when we say base 10 numerals, we're also talking about standard form or number form. It's just a basic number, okay? So if I were to do an example of a base 10 numeral, for example, it would just be just like this. So if it was the number 2,345, we would simply write it like that. If it was the number 12,345, it would be like that. So then I would just simply type in, it's worth 1, 10,000, 2 thousands, 3 hundreds, 4 sets of tens, and 5 ones. And just to kind of briefly touch on this for a second, too, the other thing I want to point out is if I were to say the value, so the place is the words, but the value is how much is it worth. So, for example, if I were to say, what's the value of the digit 3 in the hundreds place, then the value would be 300. So it's just how much is that worth is what we're talking about when it's specifically only asking about the value. Excuse me. So anyway, the number name sometimes is also called the word form. So in this example, you would say 12,000, okay? And then you'd go on to say 340, oh my goodness, 5. Now I want to point out I spelled 40 wrong. That's okay. I do that all the time with the number 40 for some reason. Anyway, what I wanted to point out though is I did not say and. I didn't say 12,345. I know that's a natural way to say that, but that is not how we want to say that because and is when we're working with decimals. So we're not working with a decimal here. So we're not going to say and. Okay. And then if I were to break this up in expanded form, that would mean I'm breaking it apart, expanding it out, almost like decomposing too when we're working with fractions. So then we know that it would be 10,000 because it's a 1, right? And then there are how many zeros behind it? 1, 2, 3, 4. And we know there's 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces behind it. Then we're going to put our plus sign. Then we know it's a 2 and there's 1, 2, 3 spaces behind it. I'm going to put my comma. Always separate that. Then I'm going to put my plus sign. Then I know I have a 3 in the hundreds place, so 300. I know I have a 4 in the tens place, so that means it's 40. And I have a 5 in the ones place, so it's just 5. So that is our expanded form of that number, base 10 numeral or standard number form of that number, and our word form of that number. So that's what you're going to be working with today. So let's just do another one together. So this one says standard form number, here 39,124. So how would I type that? First of all, I'm going to make that bigger. So the way that I would type that is the following. I'd say 39, thousand. I'm not going to say and. I'm actually just going to put an enter. And then I'm going to say my next line, 124. Sometimes people want to say something like 124. Think about how that sounds to you. That doesn't make sense. That's not how we say numbers. That's not how you've ever said a 3-digit number. Excuse me. So make sure you're paying attention to how would you say it out loud and then write it just the way that you would say it out loud. And then if I were to write this in expanded form, again, A little trick that I teach some people is you put the first, let me make this a little bigger for a second. The biggest trick that I teach people is that you put the first digit, right? And then you just count how many spaces are behind that 3. So if I were to go back here and count, I'd see there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So then I just use 1, 2, 3, 4, that many zeros. And then I go back and I look, okay, from the right to left, how many, I count 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, and then I put my comma, and then you put your plus sign, okay? And then our next digit is 9. And then if I count the digits, or sorry, the spaces behind the 9, there's 1, 2, 3. So that's how many zeros we're going to have. Go back, 1, 2, 3, and put my comma. Go back and put my plus sign. So, it takes a little bit of time, but it's really not hard. 100, and then my plus sign. Oh, not 90, just kidding. 20, and then my plus sign, and then my 4. So that's how it's going to look there. So if I have it in expanded form, then all you're doing over here now is putting it into standard form. And the way that we're going to do that is simply by squishing it all back together. So I actually like to do that from left to right. So I start with my big number. Now the big thing to remember with this is it's not going to happen here. I know that there's a comma right behind the 7 because on here it actually has a comma right after the 7. So that helps me know where my commas go. The other thing to think about is, okay, what comes after the 1000s place is the hundreds place. So I know it's 3 goes there. But there's no number showing in the expanded form that's showing between the hundreds and the ones. We should have a tens place here, but we do not. So what you do is you use a placeholder. So you just put a 0 and then you put your ones place. So you can see you need to make sure you pay attention to that, because if there's nothing in the tens place, no number being signaled in the tens place there, or any place for that matter, if you skip one of the places, you just put a 0 in that spot, and then it's considered a placeholder. All right, so let's go and do the number name. Again, I'm going to say it out loud first. 87,301. I'm going to leave that word "and" out. It's really hard sometimes because I definitely always want to naturally say that, but we do not want to use that word form because then you're going to get confused. 301. You're going to get confused then with decimals, so we're not working with that right now. All right, I'm going to skip over to this last slide here. When you're creating a number, you got to make sure you're paying attention to what it's asking you to do. So, for example, here it says, using the digits 1 through 5, create the largest number. So we want the biggest number possible and write each of the 3 forms. And then the other big rule is that you cannot ever use the same digits more than once. So I know that right away, I'm going to use all the numbers because that's what will make it the biggest. Also, I know that I cannot go above 5 and below 1. So the biggest number that I'm going to start with is 5, because the bigger the number in the bigger place, the bigger the number is going to be. And then I'm honestly just going to write out all the numbers. So I started from biggest to smallest because I know I have to use every number and I can only use them each once. Then I'm going to go back to my end, and then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and then put my comma. So I now know, okay, this is 54,321. I got it. Bing, bang, boom. So now I'm going to write my number name. It's probably going to yell at me about the lines, but that's okay. So 54, ooh, girl, 54,000. I'll fix it in a second, guys. 321. Notice I did not say "and" at any point. That's really important that you do not say "and" at any point there. So I took that away, fix that up for you guys so it makes sense. Sometimes that happens. Not sure what I was thinking here, putting that line there ahead of time, but that's okay. All right, now expanded form again. Just going to type the first digit and count how many zeros. 1. I know there's a comma here. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then my plus sign. Then I'm going to put my next digit, and I'm going to put my comma because it's right behind the 4 up there. then 1, 2, 3, and then my plus sign, and then my 3, and I know that I have 2 zeros behind it, plus sign, a 2, and there's only 1 0 behind that, and then a 1 and no more spaces, so therefore no more zeros. All right, so the last thing I want to talk to you about is on the Flipgrid today, you are going to be asked a question where you're going to have to think about the value of a digit. So let me give you an example real quick of what I'm talking about there. So if I were to have the number, if I were to change this to a 2, for example, so I'm going to say change that to a 2, change that to a 2, and it wouldn't be 12,000, it would be 22,000. Okay, I changed all those. Perfect. So now what I'm looking at is a 2 here and a 2 here. So the thing that's important to notice about the 2 here is that it is in the 10,000s place. And the 2 here is in the thousands place, okay? And if I want to say something like, what is the relationship between these twos? Then the important thing to know is the relationship between the twos is not the word relationship just means how do they relate, okay? How are these twos alike? Well, they're both twos. Yes, we both know that. We all know that. But how are they alike that they or what is their relationship to each other? Well, this 2 is in the thousands place, and this 2 is in the 10,000s place. They're right next to each other. Yes, that's true, but that's not what I'm asking about. So when I ask the question, what's the relationship between the two digits that are the same, or if I say, what's the relationship between the twos here, what I'm looking for here is for you to tell me that the 2 in the 10,000s place is 10 times more than the 2 in the thousands place. That's all I'm looking for. Because we know that every time we jump from one place to another, we're multiplying times 10. Every time we go back down, we're dividing by 10. But right now, all we're thinking about is how many times bigger is each spot getting when we jump from one to the other. So 1 times 10 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 10 is 1,000. 1,000 times 10 is 10,000. So I know that the 2 and the 10,000 spot is definitely 10 times greater than the 2 in the 1,000 spot. Because I know that 20,000 is 10 times more than 2,000. Like if I were to take 2,000 and times it by 10, I would get 20,000. So when we talk about relationship between two digits that are the same and next to each other, that's what I'm speaking about there. So hopefully this video helps you out with your lessons today. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. If you need to re-listen to it as many times as you need to, go ahead. All right. I will see you guys at 10:15 if you need any math help.